So, there's this website called Fantasy Names Generator, and there are like hundreds of different generators. You can generate countries, cities, armor, alphabets. If you can think about it, it's probably there. And that got me thinking, is it possible to generate a bunch of things and stitch them together into a coherent, good story? And that's what we're going to test today. Let's start with the basics. First, I want a setting, so I'll generate a country to see what we get. And we got Fuller. Let's read what we have to work with. The country of Fuller is an average-sized country with a population of give me a second. 925,866 humans. Bordered between a large frozen lake to the north, a wide sea to the south, a huge lake to the east, and huge open plains to the west. The country of Fuller mainly lives off of fletching, geocrafting, and hunting. Nice. Fuller itself is mainly covered in caves and has a windy climate, which has led to a closely concentrated population despite the numbers of people, which means most of them live in big settlements. I don't know if this sentence made a lot of sense, but we'll go with it. The country's landscape is delightful. Cascading rivers, gorgeous flower fields, and soft, foggy fields are just a sliver of the delicacy Fuller has to offer, which is why the country is admired among foreigners. The people of Fuller are unsociable towards foreigners and tend to welcome them with disdain. They feel foreigners could damage the country's well-being. We're not dealing with very amicable people, apparently. Fuller has hard laws and law enforcement, which is normal for the situation. The people are disturbed due to the impending wars caused by recent climate changes. Very topical, very relevant. So this is our setting. We are writing a story in Fuller, a human country. Yes, this is a fantasy setting. There are not only humans just living there out there. Now that we have this, what's the next step? We need a protagonist. So let's generate a character description and find who's going to be our hero. White, shaggy hair slightly covers a furrowed, menacing face. That gray eyes set narrowly within their sockets. A scar stretching from the bottom of the right cheekbone, running towards her right nostril and ending on the left cheekbone, and leaves a satisfying memory of former love. Alright. They is the face of Penelope Fitzfingers, a true mercenary among goblins. There's something ambiguous about her. Perhaps it's her unusual alliances, or perhaps it's simply her sense of justice. So, what do we have to work with here? This is a goblin living in a human country that's not very amicable towards foreigners. So from this we can assume that Penelope here was not treated very well and has suffered prejudice. And not only that, she has an axe that cut her face. That's interesting. And she has unusual alliances. We'll have to figure out what those are. But that's not enough. There is also a backstory generator, and that's what we're going to do right now. She's impolite, intelligent, and confident. This is to be expected from someone with her shocking past. She was born and grew up in a broken family in an important town. She lived in peace until she was about 10 years old. But at that point, things changed. She lost her family, they were split up after an earthquake, and was initiated in a gang connections. Alone, lost and forgotten, she had to survive in a relentless world, but with her skills and charm, she managed to crush all that's in the way and overcome all odds. This has turned her into the woman she is today, Penelope. Still affected by the past, she now works on meeting new, kind people. By doing so, she hopes to shed the memory of the past and finally find purpose to life she has never had. So okay, there was an earthquake when she was 10 and it destroyed her family. She got separated, then a gang catched her and initiated her, and now she's a gang member. This connects to her unusual alliances. Maybe it's a gang of non-humans, they are like stick together. We can make that work. Is it possible that an earthquake is caused by climate change? I think that's a stretch, but that's a fantasy world. Maybe the climate change has caused this earthquake. I don't know, we'll see. But now she can't run around naked. But now she can't run around naked, can she? No, let's generate clothing for her. I'm generating male clothing because the female ones are like fancy dresses, and Penelope doesn't strike me as someone who'd use fancy dresses, so yeah, I'm changing the pronouns. Her short-sleeved high jacket covers her to her waist and is bound at the left side. So I don't know what height is. I'm not a native English speaker. I looked for it and this showed up, so I assume it's like this fluffy thing, so that's not what I'm going to do. If it's wrong, just accept it. The sleeves of her jacket are loose fit and reach down to below her hands. The sentence begins with short-sleeved, and then it says it reaches down to below her hand. I'll take some creative liberties here and just make 2 jackets or 2 shirts, I don't know how to call it. So one will be short and the other one will be below her hands. Alright, resolved. The jacket has a rectangular neckline which reveals part of the rather simple shirt worn below. Her pants are simple and quite narrow and reach down to her hard leather boots. The boots are made from a rare leather but are otherwise an ordinary design. Another liberty I'll take here is an ordinary design, but for a goblin. She's not somewhere that she could easily find goblin clothes, so this is an ordinary design for a human, which is huge on her. And now she walks around with 2 huge boots, and that's it. It makes her look taller and she likes it. I think it fits her, I like it. Alright, now we have our setting, our protagonist, and what is missing? A plot. There is a plot generator in this thing. Let's generate one. The calm life of a woman might turn out differently as a neighbor enters her life. The neighbor claims the woman has the DNA strain, which very likely offers the key to cure several crippling diseases. Tests will have to be done, but the key to save millions of lives is within the grasp of science through this DNA strain. Unsure what to think of all of this and of this neighbor, the woman unusually eagerly agrees to the proposal, but for some reason a nagging feeling of this is a bad choice won't go away. But what if this neighbor is trying be misleading? Or what if the complete opposite is true? How could an ordinary woman come out of the situation in a better way? Time to find out. So, a way for me to make sense of this is that goblin DNA specifically is being studied for this cure. And again, this is not a very amicable place for foreigners, so I imagine there are not many goblins where she lives, so they choose her because it's the only option. Like, she's not a special goblin, she's just the only goblin. So okay, so goblin DNA is the cure, and she's a goblin. Who's this neighbor? We need to create him. Let's go back to the character generator. Black dreadlocks slightly reveal a fine, warm face, glinting brown eyes set lightly within their sockets. A tattoo of a bear paw is subtly placed on the side of his left cheekbone, leaves a beautiful memory of his luck and love. This is the face of Jamar Eustace, a true idealist among humans. He stands elegantly among others, despite his slim frame. There's something incomprehensible about him. Perhaps it's the feeling of delight, or perhaps it's simply his humility. So, Jamar Eustace always has had luck and love, apparently. So why does the bear paw represent luck and love? Maybe that's a cultural thing. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe it's like an engagement marking. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, he needs a backstory. He's skillful, impulsive, and adventurous, which isn't out of the ordinary for someone with his disturbing past. He was born and grew up in a poor family in a merchant community. He lived comfortably until he was about 4 years old, but at this point, life changed drastically. He lost his home when it was destroyed after a terrible disaster and was abandoned by all. Reunited with a friend, he had to survive in a crazy world. But with his charm and determination, he managed to overcome all odds and train to perfection. This has turned him into the man he is today, Jamar Eustace. Still affected by his past, he now works as a traveling trader. By doing so, he hopes to leave the past behind and finally find tranquility he has never had. Alright, this kind of contradicts the beginning because it says he lives comfortably, but tranquilly. Maybe comfortable and tranquil are different things, alright? Yeah, this ties in perfectly with Penelope's story because there is a disaster when he was 4 years old and Penelope was 10. This being the earthquake that destroyed everyone apparently. And as the story is about a neighbor, maybe they were childhood neighbors, they knew each other and got separated through this earthquake. And from this we also know that Penelope is 6 years older than Jamar. He reunited with a friend. We don't know who this friend is yet, but it's not Penelope because Penelope was in a gang. And again, with his charm and determination, he overcame all odds. So he's a traveling trader. Why is he after Penelope? Is he working for hospitals? Like, what's going on here? Or maybe this is an excuse for him to trade her? I think that's a bit too dark. I don't know. But maybe as a traveling trader, he also kind of became a bounty hunter. Not a bounty hunter, but like people give him a task and he does it. And doctors ask him to like find a goblin and he does it and he's trying to bring her. Maybe that's what's going on. But yeah, we also need to give Jamar clothing. His fairly long sleeve cloth jacket covers him to well above his knees. The sleeves of his jacket are incredibly wide and reach down to well below his waist. The jacket has a deep, round neckline, which reveals part of the majestic shirt worn below it, and is worn with a wide cloth belt, which is held together by a big belt buckle. The cloth belt is solely decorative and a status symbol. So yeah, Jamar got a bit of money from all this work he's been doing. He has status. His pants are simple and a little narrow, and reach down to his high shoes. Again, what is hide? Is it leather? I don't know. The shoes are made from a very uncommon hide, but are otherwise a common type. Alright, Jamar is pretty rich from what we can gather. He's like very fancy. So yeah, he's well off. Differently from Penelope, who's like she's not in a bad position, but she's not rich by any means. So like this can bring a fun dynamic. Anyway, so I think from the beginning, Penelope is going to be very suspicious of Jamar. She only goes along with him because they have known each other as kids and they have this connection, you know. And I'm not sure if I want Jamar to actually be truthful about his intentions. Maybe he's not. We'll see. We'll probably have to generate some more things to figure that out. But for now, this is it. Follow me if you want to watch part 2. There are a lot of things to figure out. This is hardly a story yet. So who are the members of her gang? Who's her ex and why did they leave a scar through her face? What does Jamar's luck and love mean? Who's the friend that grew up with them? And if you want these answers, subscribe. There will be a part 2, probably a part 3, and as long as I'm inspired, I'll keep building on this story. So if you're interested in the story of Penelope Fist Fingers, yeah, you already know what to do. This was a very silly video, but yeah, I had fun. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and I see you in the next part.